Hello from the time machine. We just wanted to give you a little heads up that Alexis was having an audio issue for the first part of this episode. We do resolve it, but not until about 13 and a half minutes in. Anyway, enjoy the show.
Kaylee, did you notice something kind of off with the credits this episode?
Like, there were 4 extra beats at the intro and a whole extra, I know, you know, at the end to extend it for some reason?
If not too extra, I know you knows.
Maybe 2, yeah.
I was like, this is the longest version of these credits that I've ever heard, and it might be the longest we'll ever hear.
Yeah, and I didn't notice any extra clips or any extra good clips. I don't get why it was so much longer.
They must have done it to adjust the runtime, but why could we not have had another joke? Or just another minute with Carl Weathers, maybe?
One more Juliet threatening Carl Weathers.
One of my favorite parts of this episode, without question.
Absolutely, and deservedly so.
The guest stars today are, in fact, Carl Weathers and William Devane. And there's a chance that I'm pronouncing his name incorrectly, and if so, I apologize.
We're going to go with it, though, because that's also what I feel inclined to call him.
We just looked up his IMDb, though, and it was so long.
Oh, yeah. He's had a lot of, one-episode stints on things, supporting acting things. He did, 266 episodes of a television show called Knots Landing, the title of which sounds vaguely familiar, but I absolutely believe I have never seen it.
And then, of course, we have Carl Weathers, who we all know from Rocky as Apollo Creed, from The Mandalorian as the, mayor of the town. Those are my two kind of big no's for him.
Oh, Levi, my husband, went 0 to 60 on, oh yeah, he was in Predator. And I'm like, everyone else dies in Predator besides Arnold Schwarzenegger. How do you remember him from Predator?
But they're an awesome duo in this episode. They play their parts really, really well because their parts are Sean and Gus 30 years from now.
With some quirks added in.
I'm excited to talk about it. Shall we start the show?
It's showtime.
This is To the Blueberry! I am Alexis and I'm a real life Gus.
I'm Kaylee and I'm a real life Sean.
Together we make up a real life best friend duo who decided to start a Psych rewatch podcast for the sheer sake of being able to talk to each other more regularly, and it's been wonderful.
Yes, it's worked out wonderfully. What did we watch this time, Alexis?
Season 5, Episode 6, Viagra Falls, which I don't even get. I get the pun, but it makes no sense except for the fact that there happen to be 2 older guys.
Yeah, I can't wait to come up with our own title for this episode, because I think it'll be a lot more memorable.
Yeah, I've already been thinking about Rick Tuckett. I think those are both good ones. There's a lot to go about. The grapples. I like the grapples. Yeah, so we'll hit all these. We start in 1990. And like Kaylee and I talked about last time, this is a Henry flashback because we no longer have little baby Sean.
Yeah, we've seen our last of that particular little baby Sean for now. Or forever. Sure. Anyway, Henry is walking into the chief's office, but the chief in this case is Herb Wilkins.
And he is mad at Henry
because he's kind of matter-of-fact about it, though.
Really?
Yeah.
I wrote Chief is mad at him, so...
But he's not, explosive. He doesn't even stand up. He goes, "You screwed up, Henry."
Yeah, that's true. The specific way that he screwed up was that he got one guy, but there's still another one out there. The stakes are higher now that he's a detective.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The chief is like, we can't let that go. you can't get one and not the other, like it leaves too much. And Henry's like, I'll fix this, I'll work overtime. And he's like, no, you won't. I've already handed it off to Peters and Boone.
So there is a loop here that I don't know if you caught, but obviously this intro is a great introduction to Peters and Boone. But I want to point out that Chief said you got one of them, but you didn't get the other. To be continued. Okay. Present day, we got a man running through a warehouse shouting all kinds of things. It's kind of a warehouse. I don't really know what it is.
Yeah, it looks like we're somewhere near the water. It's like that kind of a marine-ish storehouse. Yeah, Herb's running from who we don't know. He turns the corner. He hears something from up ahead. He hears something from behind him. And he's just kind of like stranded there in the middle of the open, like, come and get me, you cowards! Come and get me, I'll squeeze the coward out of both of you.
Yeah, he said, you two might be I've worked with some scumbags in my life, but you two might be the worst of the worst. He gets ready to fight, and then we see a gunshot. Well, we hear a gunshot.
So right here, I want to pause, because I've been scarred by this show, and for this whole show, I was afraid the old men were somehow bad guys. And I want to go ahead and give the spoiler that none of these old men are the bad guys. Not the ones we're with, not the ones we're no longer with, or who are no longer with us. Like, I am so thankful for that. We just get some wholesome old men vibes here, and they're being how they are, but they're not bad guys. And that the second
that is
watch,
a huge spoiler, but that's okay.
The second watch through, it's more important to me that Peters and Boone, that we know going in, that they are not shady characters, and that won't always be the case, but the second watch through was very cathartic for me, because I was like safe in the knowledge that we're with the good guys the whole time.
Again, though, here Herb says you two might be the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
Okay. Sean, Henry, Gus on a dock.
They're at the marina. Boys and Henry are walking up, and Sean is like, what's going on? Is this casual Friday? Because Henry's dressed like cargo shorts and Hawaiian shirt, you know? Like...
It's his day off, but Chief Vic wants all living bodies on hand. Because our victim is none other than Herb Wilkins, who we just watched die, so that makes sense.
Yeah, and not only was he the best damn chief Santa Barbara Police Department's ever had, he was also Henry's boss for over 20 years. And Sean said the good news is that he had a good 8 or 9 decades of life before he kicked the bucket.
Henry will have none of this. Sean will not be disrespectful about this old guy. Sean does not give in, and basically we see 2 older gentlemen roll up, and those older gentlemen are Peters and Boone.
Not only do they roll up in a green Cadillac convertible, the same color as the Psych window font. Like, yes, that bright green.
Henry's like, these guys are legends, and they still volunteer on cases. Henry has all the respect in the world for these guys and tells Sean and Gus to learn from them.
They walk out of the Cadillac and they do this very, like, slow-mo, on purpose, like, meaningful, like, one pump handshake with each other. And we'll see them do this more than once. It's a very emphatic handshake. It's not, like, got any extra moves or anything, but it's, like, a very on-purpose man shake. Like,
not unlike a fist bump, if you will.
Not unlike, yeah.
Sean goes, the only thing I'm going to learn from these two is what time the hometown buffet closes.
It closes at 8 p.m. And the way Guest says this is like, we both already know that.
Which they probably do. All right, we get a Chief Vic debrief. And she said that Herb's legacy is to be protected.
So we're sitting here. There's a man sitting shot in a chair on the deck of his boat with a gun lying beside him. And Chief is very clearly going out of her way to not say this appears to be an 1144, but Gus is very much and very quickly like, kind of looks like it's an 1144.
Sean, though, immediately sees like hairlines or a lack of hairlines on his wrists. And he said, I'm having a clear vision on a cloudy day. Herb did not. And then Peters cuts in and says, off himself. Mm-hmm. I like the line, I'm having a clear vision on a cloudy day, mostly because that was one of my coloring book pages.
I love that. Sean says, he introduces himself as the local psychic working with the Santa Barbara Police Department, and Boone steps out and goes, psychic, we don't mess with the devil, son. Now you better ride that goat somewhere else.
I like that attachment of goat and the devil. That's very biblical and funny. Both Sean and Peters point out that the missing hair on the wrist are likely due to duct tape. And then they also point out that he was likely killed somewhere else. Well, Sean specifically said he was killed somewhere else. TBS.
It's TBD. To be decided.
What's TBS?
The Super Channel? The Super Station? What does he call it?
The Super Station? Gus is very embarrassed.
Sean is like, is it though? And then Gus, actually it's Sean who says to Peters, look, I'm doing my best to respect your wisdom and the many world and civil wars that you have both seen and perhaps fought in. Because they keep fighting over who's gonna say what and not letting Sean do his thing, and he's getting very, very bent out of shape about it. Peters is already looking at the gun, and he's like, listen, that's not his 6-shooter. Because his 6-shooter's name is Darla Sedman. And Herb would never have had a Beretta like this. An affair with a Beretta like this. Because that's not Darla.
I love Lassie's aside here.
I hate Lassie's aside.
I've never seen my gun. How about Mr. Thunderstick?
I just wrote, ew. It sounds gross.
I mean, it does sound gross. You're right.
So it looks like the Beretta is just anybody's old stolen serial number filed off gun that was planted on this boat to make this appear like a sloppy 1144, but it's fooling absolutely no one.
Chief Vic is very thankful to Henry that he brought Peters and Boone down to help with the case. And just as all is ready to go, I don't know if it was Sean or if it was Peters, because I get it mixed up throughout this episode. Point out that he was carried onto that boat by 2 people.
So Sean says, I will find this cop killer. And Peter says, wrong again, Rick, because he keeps calling Sean Ricky Nelson. And so he will be referred to henceforth as Rick by Peters. That he was carried onto the boat by 2 people, one under the arms, one under the legs. And I think that's evident because there are no drag marks. And it would take a significantly strong person to just, like, carry a dead body by themselves without leaving drag marks.
Peter says, which means we're looking for 2 cop killers.
And then our extra long for no reason credits.
We are at the Santa Barbara Police Department, where Sean and Gus are on a walk and talk. Sean wants to sit back, relax, and talk about why Meshack Taylor came back for Mannequin 2 when everyone else said no. Chief Vic calls everyone into the office, and Peters and Boone are already there. Sean is mad at Henry that they have officially been brought on the case.
Sean says, man, I don't want to see those guys anymore. Like, my dad's missing the point. He shouldn't have brought them in. We don't need them anyway. We're so young and viral. Viral?
We get another of Peters calling him Rick or Ricky, and he tells the boys to stay back and stop embarrassing themselves.
Oh, Sean says we don't need any help in being embarrassed by ourselves or something like that.
Boone said, we will have very little time for your malarkey, shenanigans, or tomfoolery.
The big 3. Sure. Sean fully understands that.
Chief Vic said, time to start the meeting. This is an all-hands-on-deck situation. There will be no talking to the press. There will be no vacations.
And no vacation sequels, because the Griswolds have been through enough, everyone.
Chief Vic wants in on every update, every detail that comes up, and Boone starts to imply that Gus is planning to steal his watch.
So, Gus is beside Boone, and he just sort of goes, "What's up?" And Boone is like, "Are you looking for a handout?" And Gus is like, "I'm just being cordial." And Boone says, "You're eyeballing my watch." And Gus says, "It's a Casio." And Boone says, "You're proving my point." Or I think he calls him slick fingers.
They have gotten the warrant to get into the guy's house. They're going to look for Prince, and even his daughter, who he is slightly estranged from, is coming into town.
Yeah, to handle his arrangements. Sean eyeballs Henry, and they do a little step out to argue about Henry hiring Peters and Boone, and how it's rubbing Sean the wrong way.
To which Sean finally says, when a cop retires, he should stay retired.
So Henry's like, "You're implying you didn't want me to take this job and come back to work, that I don't belong here and shouldn't have done that?" And Sean fully avoids any talk of Henry. He's like, no, I'm talking about those guys. Those guys that play checkers with the other retirees in the park, and they that's what they do now? No, they need to stay retired. And Henry decides he's still going to take offense.
As everyone is leaving, we hear Peters and Boone say that they are headed to Herb's live bait shop. But Boone decides to be a total dick. I don't know what else to call him. That's what I'm calling him. A total dick. And he goes, "Hey, sweetie, when we get back, you're going to need to have a fresh pot of joe and a baker's glazed."
Yeah, a baker's of glaze. Like 13 glazed donuts.
A baker's of glazed. And he says it to Juliet.
And she says, "For the last time, I am a detective." And he said, "Sure you are." And he just walks away.
Sure you are.
Like, bitch. I don't care if you're Carl Weathers.
In this scene, we have established that Boone is both racist and sexist. Good. Done.
Sean asks Gus if they knew that Herb had a live bait shop, and they did not. And Sean's like, "Damn it." But he's like, "We've got to beat these guys getting there."
So they head down to the shop, and too bad. Peters and Boone are already there.
What? So they're... Okay, so I'm going to put a pin in this. I just wrote down that they are interrogating this rando. I call him Rando. And then...
I called him one of the locals.
Yeah, well, mine kind of pays off in a really fun way. So...
Okay, I'm excited.
So he was seen having words with Herb, apparently, says Peters. And the rando's like, "Everybody had words with Herb. Like, you couldn't really avoid that." And he's like, "Yeah, but y'all were really getting into it, and he didn't seem happy." And the rando is like, "He was a cranky old man. Herb was never happy." And then we go back to our boys, briefly.
Who decide that they need to avoid Peters and Boone, who I might start calling peanut butter people.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's what my notes say.
That's how I wrote them all the time.
Who want to avoid the two of them until they can find something juicy to throw into their face.
Yeah, like rotten peaches.
What?
Gus wants to know where they're going to get the peaches.
Where are we going to get peaches?
I don't know, but I really love this idea.
I do too. But I think we should get fresh peaches and eat them in front of them instead.
Yeah, right in front of their faces.
Oh, I'm sorry, and eat them instead.
So, Sean sees the bait shop. He kind of psychs in on the locks for whatever reason. He's just like, "This seems significant." Which is why I'm saying this points to him being psychic. There's no reason for him at this point to be psyching out about locks on anything.
I'm going to disagree with you, and I will tell you why. And it could have to do with the fact that I dealt with locks for 7 years of my life when I worked in the res halls. But a lock where you put the key in stands vertically. This lock was horizontal. It was a different lock than what you would see pretty much anywhere else. And so it's not absurd to think that he would hone in on something that is unexpected. Horizontal lock.
But he hones in on two different ones.
Crap. That's the end of my theory. Okay, I'm done.
So then he says, "I think we should go get churros right now."
because we always get churros.
Well, that and the churro stand lady has a very primo spot, and she probably knows the hot goss. Which she does, because Sean's psychic, and he knows.
Sean introduces himself, and Gus, this is my partner, Ipitat, and he cometh in peace. Go ahead, show her your cometh in peace.
I had to keep rewinding this, because I was cackling so hard. This was the most obscene face. I was like, what is Gus doing? Imhotep, also known as he cometh in peace, and his cometh in peace face? No, sir. You put that away.
That's your cometh in trying to murder people face.
Oh.
She knows about Herb, but says that he doesn't really have enemies. Yeah, he was tough, but he was very respected by everyone around. Although, he has been spending a lot of time with this young girl with long red hair in her 20s. Yeah. Samantha something, maybe?
She works over here at the Pacific Treasure Shop. And then the boys are like, oh, really? And she's like, oh, but you won't find her there. She hasn't opened her shop in the past few days. Bum, bum, and both of the boys at the exact same time go, really? And then they just kind of look at each other and again go, really? It's very strange.
Sean and Gus have churros. Of course they do. Peters and Boone are still questioning the rando, as Kaylee pointed out. And this is where it pays off.
This is where it pays off.
It hit me.
Boone pulls out his gun and starts threatening the guy they're calling Randy with a game he likes to call, let's see if you're going to get shot, or something like that.
There is a full back and forth about whether or not the gun should be out and that he should tuck it. But he doesn't like to tuck her once she's already out because the gun is a female. Also, Herb's gun was, I keep saying Herb's gun was a female, but Lassie's gun was a male.
I really don't know what the psychology is on that. I
don't either, but I'm intrigued. Okay, tuck it, no, she's already out. Blah, blah, blah. Gus wants to step in, but Sean does not.
All I have is LaWanda Page.
Besides, there are no bullets in that gun. How sure are you? 1 in 6 chance. Those are the exact odds, Sean. This is the LaWanda Page. They call him the palm reader, and that guy who looks like LaWanda Page have decided to join us.
LaWanda Page from Sanford and Son?
Sean kind of agrees that that's kind of what he looks like.
Yeah, you got a little LaWanda Page in the eyes there.
Yeah. Randy is out. Sean reminds him that he is a psychic, not a palm reader. And he said, what you are is 172 pounds of I don't give a dang. He doesn't say dang.
And then I don't have anything until a text from Juliet. Something about pussyfooting around?
There's Sean and Gus drop the bomb that Herb had a young lover.
Oh, yeah.
And we get why don't you take the bifocals off, Tom Landry? So, okay, the 4 of them are on a walk and talk. And they're trying to point out that Herb may have had more unwholesome intentions than they believe. And Sean said, why don't you take the bifocals off Tom Landry and look at the facts? And when he says that, William Devane starts to break. He gets this big smile on his face. He never laughs, but he very much smiles. And he does that quite a bit throughout the episode where they kind of just left him in. Like,
they didn't cut the scene because he's in the background grinning like a fool. Mm-hmm. And he's got the best smile. And he does, honestly, this guy does look so much like an older version of Sean. It's crazy.
He calls him Rick again, and then that's when they get the text from Juliet that they will be searching the house in about an hour.
So I guess we'll see you at Herb's house in about an hour.
Sean and Gus break into Herb's house because, that's what they do. And they start
imitating. Yes, they start imitating. They use their first names. What is it, Dawn and Floyd?
Dawn and Floyd.
Yeah.
It's a good thing we got here early, Dawn. Oh, no, wait, it's a good thing we got here early, Floyd. That's my Dawn voice.
Yeah, especially since we gotta go for the early bird dinner, so I didn't write it down, but they're so funny.
When they are walking in, they see that Peters and Boone are already there, and they're like, hey, this is our move. We get here before the police. We break the rules.
We've been breaking rules since before they had rules. It sounds just like Sean would do it imitating him. It's hilarious.
They do their search and they leave no trace. That's their method.
Boone is literally sniffing a little plane. And Sean goes, tell me we don't look just exactly like that when we do our thing.
That's exactly how we look.
Sean psychs out on some lotto tickets, a little post-it note that says second wind, and Gus is holding up a dude's Speedo.
Sean also sees that there is a door ajar. There's something is bent, a run is bent, or a runner is bent, and that a drawer is open. Now, our fun facts tell us that there's a Speedo, or there's a pineapple on that Speedo, but even in cheating, neither of us saw it.
I ain't see that. It's a black Speedo with white laces. There's no obvious pineapple that we found.
Sean psychs out and says that there were unwelcome people in that house searching for something that Herb was hiding.
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, whatever they were looking for, they weren't going to find it here. He was never going to keep something important in his house.
They have a little aside, Peters and Boone do, and we hear them talking about how they always used to hide their good evidence in their locker. And I bet that's what he did. I bet that's where it is.
Tell me we aren't that loud when we have a little aside together.
I sure hope not. Once again, Peters and Boone have the one pump shake.
The one pump shake. I hate that.
Yep. What else would you call it?
It's the handshake with fist bump vibes.
Yeah.
Fist bump vibes.
Okay. I was like the fist shake.
And
hand bump.
The boys notice this and they're like, "What's with that handshake?" They say as they go to fist bump and miss each other, and then have to consciously fist bump.
Sean psychs out one more time and sees a certificate for or a plaque for an aquatic center, and he's like, "Dude, I know where the locker is."
So they go outside just as Lassie and Jules are pulling up, and they all pretend that they just got there. They were waiting on the cops, and they're like, "Oh, are you going to search the property?" And they're like, "Oh, we were just sort of thinking about it. Maybe we'll join you." And then the old guys are like, "Hey, don't follow us." And Sean's like, "We don't need to follow you because we've got this." And he puts his hand to his head, and then
and then Boone throws his shoe at him.
He just flings his loafer at Rode. It's the funniest thing. Carl Weathers winging a shoe at James Rode Rodriguez is gonna live rent-free in my head for the rest of my life. Like, I just want that there.
Sean said, "Did he just throw a shoe at me?" And Gus is like, "It was a Magnani slip-on. I know my loafers, Sean, and I won't apologize for it."
And he shouldn't.
But Boone and Peters get behind because Boone has to go get his shoe.
So we all end up in the locker room at the aquatic center, and they're breaking into locker number 9 because no, that's not Boone's lucky number. That's Boone's favorite number. So he's checking locker lucky number 9. It's not Herb's locker.
There's a back and forth of them like, is it a favorite number? Is it a lucky number? And Sean once again goes, "Do we sound like that when we bicker?"
We sound exactly like that. Or that's exactly
it is the wrong locker, but Sean is like, "I know which one it is," because he remembers on the lotto tickets there were a lot of 22s, and so he's like, "I think it's number 22," only for Dawn to go, "We got it under control, Rick."
Also, we missed a pretty little Snyder's of Hanover pretzel, giving Sean the hungries a second. I mean, it's not really worth revisiting, but that is what happens. They find some pretzels, it gives Sean the hungries, no one else is very amused.
Not only does Sean know what the locker is, but Gus is gonna go crack the lock, because that's what Gus does, and Boone is very disappointed that Gus knows how to...
Oh, he's very judgy. He goes,
locks.
"Oh, you're proud of that? You can break locks and steal things?"
Sean's like, "Listen, Herb might have been living a double life. We don't know. We just need to figure it out. We need to be objective about it." Gus gets in, and there's a duffel bag full of cocaine.
So, Herb was the world's oldest drug kingpin.
Once again, Peters is smiling.
I think that's just his face.
I love it.
I kept noticing in that too, and I was like, that's just that guy's resting face. Just like, open mouth grin.
Yes, at the SBPD, Herb was the oldest drug kingpin in the history of the world. Only for Gus to say, actually, Sean, the oldest drug kingpin was named Armando.
Sean says, I cannot do this with you right now. And we see Lassie laying out evidence on the conference room table. And then Chief is like, ugh, about all of this. And then Jules comes in and says, we found out that Herb has withdrawn over $50,000 from his account in the past today or yesterday or shortly before he died.
Chief Vic is like, oh crap, that is a very bad sign, in conjunction with the cocaine. But Henry's like, listen, boys, specifically Peters and Boone, I need you guys to do what you do. I need you to solve the case. So they leave, and as they're walking out, Peters palms some of the evidence.
Sean doesn't see him do it. No, he doesn't catch him doing it, but then he catches that it's gone, and then he knows exactly what happened. Like, we see him do it. Sean notices the empty space where it was.
Juliet's really trying to be kind and offer them some consolence, because, like, their friend is maybe a bad guy.
Yeah, if you need anything, please reach out. And Boone is like, do you really mean that? And Jules is like, yeah, of course. He goes, can you pick up my dry cleaning? It'll be due at 5 sharp.
No, but I'll pick up your teeth up off the floor if you ask me that again.
Ooh! Get him, girl. Sean to Gus says, those crafty devils swiped evidence. So they
better tail him.
Yeah. So they look out the window. Peters and Boone are running to their car. Peters jumps up and slides over the hood of this car. And we notice it's parked in Lassiter's spot as they peel out.
Because why would they not park in Lassiter's spot? I don't know, maybe because they'll park in Chief X later. They're following the old guys. I hate calling them old guys. They're following Peters and Boone, and Sean goes, how is it that these guys beat us everywhere we go, but also drive as if we're always in a school zone?
I keep wanting to call them Peaches and Herb, because we have a character named Herb, and Peters and Boone is what we have to keep saying, and it's killing me.
It's like we're following Richard Farnsworth in a straight story.
So basically, the boys are tailing this car badly, because they're going so slow that, like, the boys are right on them. So the Peters and Boone, I almost called them the old men, Peters and Boone throw the car into park, get out, and confront the boys. We have a whole car showdown, and Sean just goes, roll them up! And it's a very Clark Griswold from Vacation, like, rolling up the windows. And then they come around, and they're confronting them at their windows, and Sean, to answer, rolls it down the least little bit. And he's like, it's our case too! We're all working on the same case.
They say it is in your best interest to stay away from us. But Sean said, we never know when to quit. We're always ready for the next round. Ring the bell.
Yeah, we never know when to throw in the towel. Ring the bell.
Ding ding.
And then it looks straight at Boone, Mr. Apollo Creed himself, and he just looks like he's about to, like, go through the windshield at Gus.
We get a Boone, relax.
Sean's like, we're just like apples and oranges. We should work together.
Peter says,
we need to be the same fruit.
That seems fair. Symmetry. How about grapples? Okay, it's a deal. We're the grapples.
I forget who says it. Everybody's like, yeah, I like a grapple. I could go for a grapple.
They shake hands, not fist bump, and then they share the matchbook for the Dollhouse, which is a nightclub that they can't even get into.
Yeah, what was a 70-year-old man doing going to a nightclub that we can't even get into? And they're like, exactly. And so Gus is like, what are we waiting around for? And Boone is like, duh, for nighttime when they're open. We'll see you two fools at the Dollhouse at 9.
Sean impersonates Peters and goes, the good news is I have plenty of time to change into my club clothes, Floyd.
You don't have any club clothes, dog.
Exactly. It's just
this
a
is
funny
fun.
They're at the club, and although Sean and Gus earlier said that they can't get into the nightclub, they got in without a problem at 9 p.m.
Yeah, so it looks like they've arrived early, so the boys start to dance very badly.
But, no. They see that Peters and Boone are already questioning a dancer. And we see them do the shake again from behind I don't know, what is that? Like a partition of
Like
some
a partition?
sort? Yes.
Yeah.
And we find out that Herb was there.
So they come out, yeah. Her friend confirmed that he was here a number of times to see the girl named Sarah Lynn, and Sean does a little psych out for their benefit, and he's like, yeah, young, 20-ish, red hair.
I'm also sensing that she didn't show up for any of her shifts this week.
Peters is like, this kid's got something. And Boone is like, yeah, he was getting swindled by that hussy, and that's what he got out that money for.
Sean and Gus think that he might have been dealing dope on the side, hence all of the cocaine. But Peters and Boone are not having that idea whatsoever. Don't make me take my shoe off again.
I just have where Sean's phone rings again.
Oh, yeah. Juliet said that they had found a match on the prints on the boat to one Otto Derzius, who is a suspected drug dealer that they have been following, but there have been no arrests yet.
Yeah, we're gonna go to his place of business, the nightclub he owns, the Dollhouse. You ever heard of it?
No, not at all.
Sean, what's that thumping sound behind you?
I'm at a library.
Maybe it's really popping off at the book drop right now.
Juliet is like, stay away. Do not talk to Otto until we get there.
Absolutely do not go near his office. That is an order.
So Sean goes and tells the other three gentlemen, and what do they do?
So they theorize that Sarah Lynn and Otto were a team, and they were fleecing Herb. And Sean says, Juliet says we're not allowed to search. So then they immediately turn towards Otto's office, and there's a bald guy guarding the door. And Sean says, holy crap, that guy looks like a Billy Zane action figure.
Peter and Boone want to do the old bark and mark to get past the Billy Zane action figure bouncer.
Why don't we just sneak outside and find an open window?
Sean would rather actually start a grease fire in the bathroom, the men's bathroom. But Gus would like to sneak outside and find an open window. Okay, fine, we'll do it your way. That is in fact what they do, and they climb into the office directly. Because, of course, outdoor open windows open directly to where we're trying to go. So
Gus finds a gun. Again, there's no serial number. It's just like the one on the boat. Things are starting to add up. Sean finds a list named The Second Wind, and it's got dates and amounts, and it's like a month and an amount, and it's really weird.
He also remembers that sticky note that he saw that said The Second Wind on Herb's stuff in the house. And Peters finds that same kind of bag that was in the locker in his closet, along with Gus finding a sweet beanie.
The duffel has something on it. It's not really clear what it was. It doesn't get mentioned. But then the door opens. Otto arrives with a bat and his Billy Zane action figure. And and they beat up the old guys, but then Boone pulls his gun out.
They run. Sean and Gus don't want to, but they do end up chasing him for a little bit. And then the not wanting to falls out, where they are both pulling a fake hammy injury.
Yeah, and then we hear gunshots, and literally, at this point, Gus levitates out of frame.
And Sean hides behind a stanchion, which is the worst hiding spot ever, but it was a good reason for me to say stanchion.
Which we haven't said since season 1.
They keep running, and they both find Otto shot dead.
Uh-oh. So we don't know who killed him, but it's all going down.
Chief Vic is pissed. Henry is very disappointed in all four of them. Sean said that the psychic realm took them there, and sometimes that means, or the psychic realm takes me to where I need to be, and so sometimes that means bending. And we get this look where Vic is like, do not say the rules, and he goes, over.
So she's like, so you went there, and you did a thing, and what'd you get, Gus? What was it?
Nothing,
And he's
Chief.
like, nothing. And then she's like, and you, Boone, what'd you come up with? Because so far, like, the way they've looked at the crime scene pictures and stuff and the movements they've made, they've been literally mirroring each other. But apparently, Boone got out of that office with some takeout menus.
He's excited because you always need a new menu.
Yeah, you always need to find a new takeout. And Peters is like, I told you, there's a time and a place for snatching menus.
Chief Vic probably fires all 4 of them. Much to Sean and Gus's
yeah, she's
chagrin.
yelling. They're all fired. They're all mirroring each other. And then she says, Henry,
You
you stay.
At the psych office, Sean is like, I have been fired many times, but this one is not sitting well with me.
Gus has not been fired many times, and it is also not sitting well with him, but they need to just get over it.
We could still solve this case, Gus.
It's us. We are them, and they are we, and together we are us. Something.
By we, I mean us. By us, I mean them. Because us plus them equals we.
And I think we underestimated them. They're crafty old guys. You know that Boone took more than menus out of there. We gotta find them.
So they head to the park, where they find them playing checkers, just like John had said before.
And they call them out. They're like, we know you took more out of that office than just menus.
We get something of a hair joke here, because he actually said, we've learned 2 valuable lessons from you guys. 1, it's never too early to start trimming your eyebrows. And 2, a good cop's instincts never die. Boone is very impressed, and he gives them the job application.
A whole binder. he stole a whole binder and somehow kept that from Chief.
All of the job applications of all of the dancers, and that gives us Sarah Lynn's address.
Yeah, but the old guys want to quit. They want to call it in. Like, everybody was right. They should have stayed retired. They shouldn't go around where people are getting shot at and they're not doing anything to stop it. Like, they should just stay with their checkers.
Gus goes, okay, wait a second. You guys are telling me that you want to quit because you got hit by a sporting good? Well, guess what? So do we. And then Sean's like, no, we need to keep going. Look. And we see that Herb is listed as Sarah Lynn's emergency contact.
What kind of con puts her mark down as her emergency contact?
They need to find her. She is the key to the case. But Sean and Gus are like, we need you guys. You are us. We are you. And you are them.
And you are them.
And they are
these
you.
Older guys playing checkers.
And together, we are all of it.
And he's just like, we are us.
We are all of it, Jack.
He's like, don't do it for us. I mean, he said, don't do it for me. God knows you won't do it for Gus, but do it for
Time
Herb.
for the 4 grapples to get back together and clear his good name.
The 4 grapples. Ugh.
They go to Sarah Lynn's house, and Sean introduces himself. I am Psychic Detective Sean Spencer. This is my partner, Control-Alt-Delete. And the gentlemen on the flank are us in 30 years. 20 years.
60 years.
Depending on who you ask. The lady's like, I don't know anything about Sarah Lynn. I already told the cops that. And in unison, all 4 of them go, You're lying.
And then she's like, fine, you can come in, I guess. And then they're like, how did you know she was lying? And Sean's like, psychic. And they're like, how did you know she was lying? And Boone's like, woman.
I think Gus says it at the same time.
Really?
I know.
Ew.
There's another gun pull out. It's time to tuck it. And Sean is seeing the place kind of out, trying to see what's going on. And we find out that she used to work with Sarah Lynn, but she told her about this sweet job that she was doing on the side, where a bag would appear at Pacific Treasures each month, and she would deliver it to Otto without asking any questions, only to make a good bit of money. The struggle is, to stop doing that, she had to find her own replacement.
Yeah, and she's like, and they're all like, wow, you're the worst friend. She's like, it wasn't supposed to be dangerous, and I feel super guilty, but Sarah Lynn packed a bag, and she hasn't been here in days. Like, I don't know where she is.
Sean remembers that second wind list and the note, and then just so happens to remember that there is a boat on the dock that happens to be named Second Wind. Now, I know that we get a flashback where
we were watching the gentleman interrogate Randy.
Interrogation.
And then we pan to the side and we see Second Wind. But I'm going to play the Sean is Psychic card. I'm doing it.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. Because it's like he like, it was in the background and he like had to remember back and then zoom in. And like, I think that is a psychic thing. Like that amount of control over your memory, I think is psychic.
The drugs came in on a boat that was called the Double Whammy. No, that's not it. The Twin Keys. Second Wind. And he talks about the boat and how the stuff on the bag was likely salt.
Oh, and then he remembers a picture that Herb had in his house of a redheaded girl, and he's been estranged from his daughter for a while. She had red hair, Sarah Lynn was in trouble, reminded him of his daughter. He was a good guy. He was doing a daddy gonna save the girl thing.
He was trying to be a protector, and he gave her that $50,000 so that he could buy her freedom from this drug muling situation. But that very last delivery, he kept the drugs because he did not want to make the delivery and he needed some evidence. They asked if she has any idea what this person looks like, and she's like, nope, I don't know what the drug lord looks like, but they deduced that the drug lord was likely the one who killed Otto.
Sarah Lynn is the key, but now she's gone, and Sean zeroes in on these sheets in Sarah Lynn's apparent room at this house, and the friend is like, it's so sad, she was about to graduate from school in a couple of days, and Sean is like,
school?
Nursing school? Because of the tuck
they
on
had,
the corners?
I wrote down what it's called. Oh, they're called square corners.
Like the medical bed tuck?
They were folded in a very specific way, that like military people and nurses use.
He remembers seeing that at Herb's house too, so he's like, I know where Sarah Lynn is.
To Herb's house. They tell her, she comes to the door. She does not want to talk to her.
Well, she's not coming to the door at first. And Boone says, open this door or we're coming through it.
They're not there to hurt her, and she ultimately comes to the door. But she's trying to push them away. She's like, no, go away. When people try to help me, they end up dead.
Like, it's obvious that she's scared, and she's feeling helpless and hopeless, and she's blaming herself for what happened to Herb. But she's very on edge scared, and Sean psychs in on this pair of keys that are hanging by the door, and he psychs back to when they were interrogating Randy near the bait shop, and he was wearing that key, and he's like, oh my god, I know who the bad guy is, and he's in there.
Immediately we go inside to Randy holding a gun on Sarah Lynn. They all know that someone... all four of the gentlemen are outside, and they're like, we know somebody is in there with her. What are we going to do?
Like, what's the plan?
We could sneak through a window and start a grease fire in the bathroom. Do it Sean and Gus style.
Gus is like, we could. Or... what's that thing about the barking mark again?
The very next scene, we are inside with Randy, and he peers out through the window because Sean and Gus are barking like idiots.
They're really not hiding very well behind this little tree by the front steps, and they're just barking like dogs. And then he's like, go away or I'll shoot you. And they're like, no, we have a deal for you. Here, take Gus in exchange and give us Sarah Lynn, and you can have Gus. And he's like, no. And and Sean is like, oh, come on. He can pass for Omar Epps in restaurants.
Gus goes, take Sean, trust me, you'll feel better about yourself in comparison.
They keep arguing, and the bad guy to Sarah Lynn is like, I might have to shoot these morons.
They're obviously being very distracting so that Peters and Boone can do the mark part of the break-in, or of the bark and mark, and get into the house. But Randy runs. But
there's no sign of them yet. And Jules and Lassiter are outside getting in position in the meantime.
Once somebody gets in and it causes Randy to start running, that ends with Juliet slugging him and him going down.
No, what happens...
Okay, please.
What happens is the old men are in the house, and Peter shows up and surprises him, or kind of throws him off, and then Boone tackles him out the glass front door. And then he gets up and pushes Lassie, and then, no. Yes. He pushes Lassie, and then Jules jumps over and socks him and lays him out. And then he gets up again, so then Peters knocks him for one, and then Boone hits him again. So this guy gets punched by everyone but Lassie, who just sort of got knocked over at one point by this guy. It's real sad.
Boone finally does go, "Nice job, detective," to Juliet. And it ends with,
"Thank you.
That's the barking mark." What?
And then Sean and Gus are like, "Do you think we'll be able to lay guys out when we're in our 60s?
We can't knock dudes out cold now.
You know that's right." And then they just thumbs up everybody. Do they say, "You know that's right," or did I just, like, hallucinate it?
Hallucinated it. They said, "I hear that," but "you know that's right" would have been better.
Oh. Because that's what I feel in my soul in that scene. Like...
Chief Vic, in our last scene here, is very thankful for all four of them. The fact that she had fired them all previous to this, she is choosing to forget.
And she's like, especially, Peters and Boone, just, I would have done the same thing had I been in your shoes, giving everything you got to bring the killer of Herb to justice. Like, I definitely understand.
And Peters and Boone are pretty genuine and say, without Rick and Gootsy here, Floyd and I would still be in the park playing checkers. I cannot do his voice. Not Gootsy?
Rick and Gootsy kills me.
I got it right.
I love it so much. You got it so right. No, and I love it when you do his little Weasley voice. I love it.
They tell Henry that he should be proud.
Oh yeah, you got quite a kid, and Henry's like, yeah, he's all right. Yeah, sometimes. Boone gets real awkward with Gus. Do you have this? I have this, but
I actually have what Gus says, not what Boone says.
Oh, so Boone is like, and look at you, standing tall, shirt tucked in tight, maybe a little too tight. It's really pretty tight. And he's like, you got confidence in your eyes and fire in your loins, and if you don't have any parents, son, it would be my honor to take you in.
I do have parents, and I'm in my 30s, so I'm good.
But, like, thank you? I don't... And Boone is just sort of like, oh, dodge that bullet. Can't be taking any strays at my age.
Dawn goes and walks up to Sean and said, good job, Rick. Thanks for your help, or something along those lines. And we get a fist bump all around.
Yeah, there's handshakes, there's fist bumps, everybody's getting into the action, and then all of a sudden, Buzz! He comes in and he goes,
we got a call about a body downtown on Chermson Street. There are signs of foul play.
And everybody gets sort of like agitated and excited, and Henry steps in and he's kind of like, now you guys know, right, that this was like a special exception. Like, this was like a one-time deal. Like, you're not our consultants, right? You know that.
Boone and Peters agree, and they leave. We get a little update from Chief Vic that she's going to try to get leniency for Sarah Lynn for being in such a bad situation. Everyone is feeling good. Sean looks out the window, right at the car again.
And Peters and Boone are running to the car, and Peters slides across the top, and they're peeling out of Chief Vic's space.
Sean and Gus are like, well, crap, and they chase after them.
The sneaky old devils! And they run out.
It's the end. That is a fun episode.
That was such a fun episode. Oh, man. I like that. I like that look of our guys in 60 years or 30 years or 20 years.
The Peters and Boone are so genuine about what they're doing, and they play by all the rules that Sean and Gus play by. Now, we can have a pretty serious conversation about how in the 70s, Sean and Gus don't play by the rules, and the cops also didn't play by the rules, which is probably problematic. Which is definitely problematic, and I'm thankful that happens much and much less nowadays. But that's why you have Sean and Gus.
I think the getting around the red tape of it you know, to the risk of usable evidence. But I think it's clear that Boone, at least, is very ready for some excessive force, and that we don't love, because that would make Lassie fanboy more than we see him. Lassie really gets the shaft of this episode. Like, he doesn't get to do much at all. But I do think that, like, seeing the way that they're, like, working outside the red tape, and they're not just checking boxes, and they're really digging in and finding what doesn't fit. Like, you would hope that they were like that, and that's what made them so good all along. And they were observant enough, like Henry, to be the best, even when Henry was in the game. You know what I mean? So I think they do it better than Lassiter, and more officially than the boys, and they're like this great hybrid of it.
Okay, I gotta go back to my 2 theory, because I think I know the answer. But, so we started the episode with, you got one, but you left one behind. We are in the flashback, not really flashback, we're in the death, and he's talking about 2 people. We get to this scene, there's one person. Now, assumptions can be made that Otto is the other person.
Because I think the drug drop was between Guy with Boat and Otto. And they were trying to have a go-between so that those 2 guys were never spotted together. But when things hit the fan and Herb got involved, I think they were both on the hook enough to have to go after him together. And that's what I figured was the 2.
This doesn't feed into the story at the end of this season. But I wasn't sure. That's why I wanted to clarify all of this, because it was somewhat ambiguous to me who the second person was and why they would set it up like that. Fun episode.
Yes.
Carl Weathers actually just passed away not 2 or 3 weeks ago from when we're recording.
Yeah. Very, very recent here in the Time Machine, and so it felt crazy. And we would have done this episode sooner. We actually had, like, put it on hold for a week, and I didn't realize who our guest star was at the time, because it was like, you know, not great reasons to need to postpone, but, like, who?
Yeah.
Crazy.
But such a good episode. Good honor to his legacy. Very, very awesome to have him as a guest star. And just, like, overall, the episode is really, really good. I enjoyed it without question.
Yeah, that was a lot of
fun. I still don't understand Viagra Falls, gotta be honest.
I think it's just an age joke, and I think we can do better. We could do better.
Yeah. Do you have anything else? Anything else we didn't talk about today? Maybe a pineapple. I'm gonna say no pineapple.
Yeah.
We got a buzz at the very end.
Yeah. Just swooping in to give a little nugget.
Lots of Chief Vic, lots of Henry.
Yeah.
Juliet Lassiter, not so much, but I do want to honor Chief Vic with my quote.
Yeah,
today.
That'll be good.
So, if there's nothing else, I'm Alexis. The 4 of you are like an incompetence machine.
And I'm Kaylee. He's a grown-ass man, Sean. I doubt he's for sale.
And this has been
To the Blueberry! Psych out.